Well, hey, everybody. Welcome again. It's Wednesday, so that means it's time for the Warren Files again. Tonight, we're going to discuss ways to protect yourself. That topic comes up an awful lot. I mean, people ask us that all the time. We even have members ask in certain situations, certain protection methods may, work better than others. So tonight we have some guests. We have Tammy, Chris, and Stephanie. So let's bring them up because they know way more about this topic than I do. So welcome everybody. How y'all doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. Chris, it's been a while since you've been on.
Nobody's asked me.
I feel bad. Well, I was gonna make a bad joke, but I won't make a bad joke. So no, it's good to have you back on. I know people like to see you come on, and I've kind of tried to get away from what we did all last year, which was, the same members talking about the same topics. So there have been some not oddball topics, but we did the hypnotherapy and the past life regressions, and we've had some British people on. We've had a lot of British people on lately. Like we should almost start a show over there.
I think
that would actually be fun.
Right. And we're gonna have real soon. As soon as I line it up, we're gonna have Neil Story on. And it's going to be, he's a historian over there and he's into the paranormal. He's doing a tour very soon with Dave Schrader. A lot of paranormal people know who he is, but he's going to talk about, he wrote a book about Bram Stoker and the Dracula stuff. So, there's a lot of stuff that I thought when I heard him on another show that I was like, oh shoot, I didn't know that, but the dude is, put in the hours doing research. So
it's like my favorite subject of all time, too.
Yeah, you definitely have to tune in on that one. So, and I might, if it doesn't fit in for a Warren Files night, I might do a Warren Files extra and do it on our off week. Maybe we can have special guests like that on the off week. So, so who wants to start with protection? How often do you guys get asked about what do you do to protect yourself?
Daily.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Daily. I'll let you go first, Tammy.
And then sometimes I get reminded I need to be protecting myself. So that happens a lot too, because we get caught up in our daily grind.
It's funny because I just reached out to Tammy the other day. I was like, Tammy, I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like crap this week. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right on that. We get so caught up in other people that we forget about ourselves. And we have to take time to rest and recharge and ground too.
Yep, we do. My favorite thing, I'll just start off with my favorite thing to do is salt baths, Epsom salt baths. It's first of all, it's good for your muscles, right? So you get that out of it medicinally, but it is just relaxing. I usually do the Epsom salts in the bath and I'll add some lavender oil. You can add other kind of oils as well for whatever you're looking to add to your bath. If it's like you want to improve your psychic abilities or if you're protecting or whatever, but protection, I would say lavender is probably my top go-to for an oil to add into the salt.
Can I
meditate, do a little bit of meditation, music,
Can I order like a 16-ounce container of that lavender then for right now? Because I'm just going to butt in here and then I'll let, Chris or Stephanie go. But I had an incident today where I got a message this morning and something in me said, all right, dude, you better double up on your protection today because with something involved. I think something is going to be sent to me if it hasn't already. I'm not trying to sound like a paranoid freak, but we all know this happens sometimes. You can get involved with people that don't have good intentions, and they truly can send things your way. So that's not a myth. So I doubled up this morning. I feel pretty good today. But I'm a contractor, and my job today was climbing up and down a ladder all day, up to a second story. Man, I grabbed every rung, made sure I was holding it, and with my feet, just I was extra cautious today. I haven't been scared to climb a ladder in a long time, but I was really afraid for some reason that something was going to knock me off of that thing today. So
Yeah, you should always go with your gut feeling.
Yeah.
When your gut is telling you something, you need to listen to it.
I've not been that paranoid in a long time for like just kind of waiting. Driving too, I drove extra careful today. I left more space.
Yeah.
I just want to mention Tammy had talked about the lavender, and that was actually my grandmother's favorite oil. She used it in her bath every single night. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. If you can get the food grade lavender oil, you can
Yeah.
add it to teas. You can even just use tea, fresh lavender and make a lavender tea. It's very, very wonderful. So you get it inside and out, the whole benefit there.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
I want to ask you all a very, very rookie question. I mean, this may seem stupid and this might be sacrilegious, but what if you put a couple holy drops of like holy water in your coffee in the morning? Is that good,
Actually,
bad? Don't do it.
No. Actually, I'd love to address that if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I'm dealing with a family that's in trouble, I actually recommend that they put it in all of their drinks, a few drops every single day for a couple of weeks. As they've cleansed their home spiritually and done everything else, and they're dealing with maybe an attachment and other things. That's a very good thing. You put in the bath with the Epsom salts. Very, very good for grounding. Very good for getting rid of the negative energies that may be attached to you. So yes, it's not sacrilegious at all, and it's a very good idea.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
start doing that.
Yeah. We actually, my family does something similar to that. We call it Umayt Zimzim, and it's holy water from Mecca. And when everyone goes to do the pilgrimage or the Hajj, it's almost obligatory to bring back bottles and bottles of holy water, Umayt Zimzim, and they pass it out to family members, and they kind of give it away as gifts, when they return, and that they will drink it, when they feel ill or they feel like the evil eye has been sent to them. They'll take a sip of it and kind of wash it over themselves and cleanse themselves with it a little bit. My family, we love to do that. So I imagine, holy water in the same regard would have the same benefit.
Yeah.
And actually, many religions use blessed water. I mean, you've got Florida water and other things like that. I think if you've got a focus for your faith, whether it's the Hamsa or a crucifix or a Star of David or whatever it happens to be, that focus is important because you're making an intentional decision to call on God and God's protection by wearing that. So that makes it very, very powerful. There are certain ones that also have power simply because of the belief of so many people over the centuries, which is why these things have even more power. So they're also a very good thing to use.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. And I think your belief system and your intent is so important no matter what it is you're doing for protection. If you believe it and you think it's going to work, it's going to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's key. Those two things that you just mentioned, Tammy, the key. Very key.
Because how many times have we given families things to do and they're like, man, I'm doing exactly what you said, but it's just not working. And then you ask them, well, do you believe it's going to work? Well,
Right.
no, not really. I'm just trying it. Well, that's the problem.
Right.
You're going in and you're not putting the intention behind it that it needs.
Right.
If I can, I only have a theory here. It's not fact. Well, a lot of things we talk about are only theory. But for me, it's really quantum physics at work. And that intention to connect is so vitally important.
Mhm.
And I mean, I believe in God. And if you're not making a conscious decision, if you're not using your free will to invite God in and ask for that help one way or the other, then you're not going to get the help.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it, it ain't going to work.
Right.
Yeah, we've had clients where we've suggested things and they didn't try them, and when we asked them why, they were like, well, I don't really believe in
Yeah.
doing that. So we're like, well,
Mhm.
why didn't you say something? We asked you, and you're like, well, I was shy, or I didn't want to make you feel like I wasn't cooperating, or I didn't want you to think that I was being a difficult client. And it's not that at all. It's we need to know what it is that you prefer. If you prefer to call on the angels, or if you have a patron saint you like to call on, if you like to wear a certain stone or play certain type of music, all of those things are very, very helpful in building up a protection recipe, is what Jeff termed it the other day. And I like that term, recipe, because you have all sorts of things that you can do and use that will recharge you, ground you, protect you, raise your vibration and your energy.
Right.
And mental attitude is also very, very important. If you are depressed, if you're suffering from mental illness, if you're dealing with traumas of some sort or domestic violence, get help, because that really makes a huge difference. My grandmother used to say, make your home clean, make it bright, bring in good energy, because like attracts like. If you're putting out good energy, you're going to attract good energy.
Yep.
Oh, and on a personal note, I call on Padre Pio and my grandparents for help. So that seems to work really well for me.
Maybe not everybody knows who Padre Pio is. You want to tell us all who he is?
Oh yeah, Padre Pio was really the patron saint of my family long before he was a saint. He actually appears in a photograph where my grandmother is in the Amityville Horror, and if you look at the moose head, you will see Padre Pio looking down at my grandmother and protecting her. He even showed up on the case that's known as The Haunting in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. When I was there, I was in the master bedroom, and all of a sudden the room filled up with roses, the scent of roses, excuse me. Padre Pio was a very, very devout monk, and when he was a young man, he suffered the wounds of Christ, called the stigmata. And he had those for 50 years. And he would bleed, and when anything that it touched, the blood touched, would smell like roses. And he could perform miracles. He was constantly being attacked by entities. One of my favorite stories, people would often make pilgrimages to him, and they'd be praying along the road as they're walking to him for weeks. And one man finally got there, and he had been praying every night, please watch over my family, please take care of them, please intercede with God. And he said it again to Padre Pio, and Padre Pio said, you've been saying that every night. Is there anything else, my son?
One protection method that often gets overlooked, and it seems to me the most obvious, is physical protection. So like when your grandparents were giving lectures back in the day, they had this device called a Joe Frankie. And so let's bring Joe in and see what he has to say about that.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys.
Hey Joe.
Surprise. I heard you were having a meeting and I had to break in.
Yeah, he made me put him on. He threatened my life or something.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. I was on the phone with the woman that we're helping, ladies. She her husband got called into work, so she was alone, and the child was getting upset, and she did what I told her to do, and she said within 2 minutes he calmed down and went to sleep.
Yay.
So
that raises a good point, Joe, is fear. People really need to remember, the first thing they need to remember is to stay calm and not feed into the fear, or, because not everything is going to be bad. Just because you're experiencing something doesn't mean that it's bad. So
Exactly.
I think one of the things that is right up there with your intent is to just remain calm and not freak out.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be your grandmother trying to check in on you and say hello, but she's trying to get your attention because you're not listening,
Yeah, well, what she did was she addressed her grandmother in Polish and asked her to leave and said, thank you for coming and checking in. And she said, literally within like a minute, she's watching the baby monitor and Clark went to sleep. So made me happy.
Chris, what did your grandparents do? Like, I'm sure your grandpa and your grandma both had probably different like go-to methods to protect themselves before they went on an investigation.
Well, the very first thing they taught me was to use the Christ light or the white light, whichever you wish to call it, as an intentional way of making a connection with God and calling on God to surround and protect you. That was number one. My grandmother also would give me St. Benedict medals, St. Christopher medals. Always blessed by somebody extremely pious. That's really important, because if you go to your local parish priest and you don't believe that person is truly a pious spiritual person, they're probably not going to be able to bless your item very well. You'd be just as well off wearing it without the blessing from that person. I just, if you don't mind, Anna Oxendine, I'm not sure how to say her name, Anna, is asking, is there anything you guys can recommend for someone who has abilities and doesn't know how to deal or handle them?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, but first I just want to give a plug to the Warren Legacy Psychic Support Group. Now that's a free Facebook group. It's private. It's only for psychics. It is not a place to get readings or anything of the sort, but it is available to sensitives to help them to manage their abilities, learn how to protect themselves, etc. Now, the ladies and I can talk an awful lot about different ways to help you. Ladies?
Yeah, this is not my gig here.
Well, I think, first of all, if you're having to deal with this by yourself, it's always a good idea to find a mentor, somebody that you can reach out to in your area that you can talk to, and they can kind of help you work out and walk through some of the things that you might be experiencing. One thing that I always like to tell people is, again, don't stress out, don't freak out, don't show fear or panic. Just remember to stay calm, and also not to kind of hyper focus on things, because when you hyper focus on things that are happening, you're feeding into them, and then you could self-manifest more activity, or you could exacerbate what's going on and make it worse.
Especially being a psychic.
Yes.
You have that extra power.
Yeah, I would say, like Chris said, a very good support group, a mentor. Also, if you have ways that you kind of calm yourself, when after coming home from work, how do you wind down? How do you de-stress? You want to make sure that you're doing that regularly and just kind of quieting your mind so that you're not just all over the place. And you may find that you'll be able to focus more and kind of clear out the chaos that you might be experiencing. As somebody who experienced this a couple of years ago, it was just a lot of things coming from all different directions and very fast. And so I was finding myself not sleeping. I didn't know who I could talk to. That's the hardest part, is actually finding somebody that you can relate to. And especially, when things start happening, you're like, oh, am I crazy? Is this really happening? Did I really just experience that? So I would say start with the psychic support group. We have so many members in there that are psychic that we can help you and kind of calm you down and walk you through it and help you kind of control them so that you can define energies and define what's going on and where it's coming from, and like that. It's not going to happen overnight. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling, because it is a process. And I think the first place that you need to start is a good group, a healthy group, because not all groups are healthy, and somebody that you can relate to and kind of mentor with.
Yeah, the psychic support group would be excellent for that. And we get questions like weekly in there about what's cord cutting, what's shielding, what's buffering, how do you cleanse, how do you ground, like constant questions. And those are all things that as a psychic medium myself, like you have to do. You have to do that, or you will drive yourself pretty crazy. You can't walk around open all the time and just, getting energy from everywhere and then not feeling it. You have to be able to ground and to cord cut too when you do readings for people, so that you're not carrying that energy with you and
Set boundaries.
feeling other people's stuff.
I'd also like to, again, mention the psychic grounding, and this is really important, not just for psychics, but for everybody. It's setting boundaries. Especially for psychics, but if you're an investigator, the same thing. You make it very, very clear. We are here now. And always be respectful, by the way. Always. But we're here now. We're willing to work with you now, help you now. But when we leave, that's it. No more. You are not allowed to follow us home. You are not allowed to interact with us again after this. And with psychics, I've seen it happen many times. Look, when I'm done with work every day, I will give you 30 minutes to get your messages across to me. That's it. After that, you have to wait till the next day. That kind of idea, that's setting boundaries. All cultures, all religions, all spiritual belief systems set psychic boundaries. It's very, very important.
My wife does that with, so her office building is built on old Native American grounds. And so she's, got a couple that want to come and bother her during the day. And she started that out like the first week after they moved into that office space was, you can talk to me on my break, the beginning of the day and the end of the day. That's it. So, I mean, that's like you said, she's setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Also at night too, when you're laying down to go to sleep, make sure you tell them, from this time to this time, I'm asleep, I'm in bed. Do not wake me up and bother me. I mean, exactly. It will happen. Yeah,
especially at night
Joe, we'll go back. We'll ask the first question that everybody on the panel answered. If you weren't here yet, but what is your preferred method of protection? What do you do when you?
Well, I mean, depending on the situation, I pray. If I'm going into a case that's really negative, or I feel that there may be a demonic entity, you really got to be in a state of grace. Fasting, confession, things like that. And as Chris mentioned earlier, I envision myself in a Christ light, and nothing can penetrate that. So it's almost like envisioning yourself in a snow globe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you are protected, and I also envision, everyone with me there as well, because as the senior, usually I feel responsible. So if I have other people with me, which you always should, by the way, you shouldn't be doing this on your own, but I've broken that rule sometimes myself, only for the fact that I haven't have any help. But envision yourself in a Christ light, pray. I have my Bible with me. That's a very holy Bible. It's been blessed. I have my rosaries that were blessed by the Pope. That was brought back to me from a friend from the Vatican. I also have my rosaries that were given to me by Lorraine some years ago. But your real weapon here, or your real protection, is your faith. Because if you don't believe, and you guys have heard me say this many times, but if you don't believe in that crucifix around your neck, it's just a piece of metal. Or that Bible, it's just a book with pages in it. The words if they don't mean anything to you, then they're not going to protect you. Your faith is a real protection, and people I don't think they really understand that. If something happens and somebody wants help, and they're like, well, I went out and I bought some sage, or I bought some crucifixes and put them around the house. I'm like, well, why would you do that? And they'll say, I'll ask them about their faith, and they say, well, we're kind of agnostic, or we don't really believe, but if something happens, they get religion real quick. you know, but you have to believe in that. Now, I can only speak to my faith because I was born and raised Roman Catholic, and I was taught by Ed and Lorraine in their ways, you know, but, you know, I'm open to suggestions from other religions and things like that. I mean, we're a non-denominational foundation. We deal with everybody. But to protect myself, really, it's my faith. But I do try to prepare myself if I know I'm going into something that could be nasty. Like, you know, the case in New York that I just came back from, I didn't know what to expect up there, you know. And, you know, so I made sure I went to confession. I fasted for a couple of days, you know, maybe a day and a half. But you really need to be in that state of grace and protect yourself and those around you.
So we got a question here in the comments. It's actually, first, before I get to this one, Chris, I'm going to ask you this. Do you see, so you're down in South America,
Right.
do you see what do they do different things down there than what we do up here in the States and say the UK? And I mean,
It depends on which religion I'm working with. If I'm in South America, it is predominantly Roman Catholic. So most of the time, they're doing pretty much exactly the same stuff that Joe would be doing. But there are plenty of other smaller religions like Kimbanda, Umbanda, and many other African-derived religions or native religions. And yes, they had many, many other ways of protecting themselves. But again, Nancy asked a question: if you're not religious but very spiritual?
That's what I was going to post before I asked you.
Yeah, I am not a religious man. I don't believe in any religion. I believe that all paths to God are equally valid as long as you're practicing love, compassion, and a desire to get close to God. That's my personal belief. As long as you have faith that there is that greater power that you're calling on, you can still call on it for protection.
Yeah, and Kim, one of our assistant directors, chimed in on that, you know, answering your question as well. She does not believe in a specific religion. She uses her energy, protection of white light around me, and speaking to my guide. So, yeah, I mean, people don't have to be religious to be spiritual, and certainly not to protect yourself. So, what I mean, Tammy and Stephanie, what do you guys think?
I get asked this question quite often, actually. We've had many cases where the religion has been an issue, actually. We had a case here in Oklahoma where one of the members of the family was Christian, and we had gone in and done an investigation and thought we figured out kind of what was going on, and we're going to help these people. And we empowered them to start cleansing their house and putting up protective barriers around their property with St. Michael's medals and different things. And in doing so, it would work. And then it would like creep back in, and it would work, and it would creep back in. And I said, what are we missing? We're definitely missing something because we covered all these bases. And it turned out that her husband, she was embarrassed to tell me, but her husband was a Norse pagan, and they have completely different ritualistic beliefs than she did. So we needed to marry the two. We needed to incorporate his religious beliefs and hers and do something at the same time. And I actually suggested, because Norse pagans do juniper, and they do it over like an open flame, and they cleanse that way and do a little ritual. And I said, hey, they didn't want the kids to know what was going on. You know, it was like, we're trying to keep this away from them. And I said, listen, roast marshmallows. Do it simultaneously. The kids will have a blast. You guys will be serving a purpose for him. Yeah. And then incorporate his religious beliefs in with yours. You can double up. They've been great. They haven't had a problem. She was so sweet and nice, and just like, I felt bad. I didn't want to tell you. I thought that you were going to run for the hills because of his religion. And you know, that's not what we're non-denomination. I don't have a specific religion I call home either. I'm like Chris. I think all paths lead to God. So, or a God, your God, whatever you want to say.
I think it's all the different faces of God. There's a wonderful parable about three blind men touching different parts of an elephant. One's touching the trunk, one's touching leg, and the other one's touching the tail. The first one's like, it's a snake. The second one, it's a tree. The third one, no, it's a rope. That's us, struggling in the darkness, trying to understand something incomprehensible to us. God created the cosmos. And there are more, according to NASA, more living worlds in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. My mind is not going to be able to encompass that. I'm sorry.
Yep. Nicole had a question. So obviously this is going to be based on your faith, but does being baptized help protect you?
It is a minor form of exorcism.
Right.
And yes.
Right.
Yes.
And please, describe what the minor rite of exorcism is, because a lot of people hear the word exorcism and they think, oh my God, the little baby's got a demon and we got to get rid of it.
Oh no.
No, but that's what people think. I'm telling you, we all know a few cases where that phrase has been used and people thought they were possessed.
It means putting you in a state of grace. It means cleansing attachments and making you well again.
Right. But it does not mean you're possessed.
No, not at all.
That's important that we all take that away from this.
Yeah.
Please. What changing gears a little bit. What do you guys think about, because we get asked this a lot too. People often think that some dark magic has been sent to them and they want to protect themselves from it. And do you think other people can protect them from it? Like they want us to protect them from whatever crap has been sent to them. Do you guys believe that that's possible, that we can protect other people spiritually?
Yes, I do. We can lend our energy, our good intention to others if we feel like they are being affected by a negative energy coming at them. I do it every night when I go to sleep. I will pray and I will ask my spirit guides. I will ask God. I will lend my good energy over people in the foundation, my family, my close friends, and I will say, God, please send them some divine white light, love, and protection. So I do believe that if our intention is pure and good, we can send our energy and ask the divine to also send some energy to protect somebody.
The power of prayer cannot be underestimated.
That's what I was about to say, Chris.
I apologize.
No, you're good. And as a Reiki master, I can say too, like that's what I do, is I'm a vessel for universal energy. And so how I do my Reiki sessions when people come to me is they will say, I'm having back problems, I'm having fibromyalgia, I'm having this or that or whatever. And so I actually use crystals a lot too. That's another thing we can talk about. But I use different crystals and their metaphysical and physical and healing properties to help me with those type sessions, to actually send that good energy, to receive back, the bad energy and send the good energy to them. And I've had great success so far. People are, I feel so much better. I feel lighter. This is great. I haven't had this. And then, but if you're a medium or a Reiki master or a healer out there, know that when you're done with these sessions, you have to go dump all that. You have to cut that cord. You have to shield yourself and ground and center and focus back again.
That's why I had you guys on here, because that's not my expertise whatsoever. Joe, what do you do? I see you surround yourself with stuffed animals. Does that is that your protection instead of crystals?
I'm listening to my colleagues here and I agree. However, I think it's important to empower people to protect themselves.
Yeah.
I tell people, I said, look, I don't have a proton pack on my back. I'm not going to come in and suck this thing up into the ecto chamber. I said, this is your home, your business, your family. You need to take it back. As Ed would say, face your fears. Okay. I said, when you get the most scared, that's when you dig your heels in and you say, I won't say it, but you say BS. Okay. Yeah. But I said, so my job is to guide you, to empower you, to stand behind you. I got your 6, but you need to do this. and you need to do it as a family. So if you're working with a family that doesn't get along and they don't love each other, they're fighting all the time, I just tell them, I said, unless you change this and come together as a family, I can't help you.
Right.
You know, if there's something negative here, it's just sitting there eating popcorn, laughing at you, because it feeds off that negative energy.
Well, that's so true. That's so true, because you have to empower them, because when at the end of the day, you're not holding their hand, you're not sitting having dinner with them.
Yeah, I have to go home eventually, right?
Right. They have to be empowered to, and for no other reason than when you leave, something happens, that fear comes right back that quick. They're vulnerable. They have to be empowered. That empowering lessens the vulnerability.
I was going to
which
ask
is an
that.
example I just mentioned when I first popped on. This is a case that just came in 2 days ago, and I've been trying to empower this woman. You know, she was terrified. She reached out through a mother's group, and she hesitated to do that because she didn't want people to think she was crazy. You know, and fortunately, and I don't believe this is a coincidence, but fortunately, my daughter happened to see the post and said, "You need to call my dad." And it found out she lives about a quarter of a mile away from me. So, but I've been talking to her the last couple of days, and I said, this is what I want you to do. I don't want you to be afraid. There's nothing there that's going to hurt you or your son or your husband, but this is what you need to do. And that's exactly what she did tonight. And I'm very proud of her for that.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you even protect yourself if you're in a state of fear? Because we've had clients that are just in a constant state of fear. They're afraid all of the time. Can they even protect themselves if they're afraid?
The problem with fear is it's a denial of faith. It says, yeah, I got faith, but not enough.
Yeah.
You got to let go of the fear. And to be quite honest, someone else asked about the percentages of good versus evil. And 99% of the time, what you're dealing with isn't actually evil at all. Those footsteps you hear in the hallway are your grandmother coming to check on you, but your fear has turned what should be a beautiful experience into something terrifying. Tammy actually had a wonderful, beautiful experience with my grandmother. We had been on an interview. My grandmother had appeared during the interview. This was with a client. And afterward, Tammy, well, I'm going to let Tammy pick up from here.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So we have this case, and it's a pretty good one. And during the Zoom, she was seen in the background by the client, actually. And I kind of thought, I don't know. I'm on the fence with this, right? Like, did she really see Lorraine behind Chris? I'm wondering. So I had gone to do my traditional grounding, centering, refocusing myself after we got off the call, and was doing my salt bath with my lavender, and I had some meditation music on, and all of a sudden I had like a breeze at my right cheek, and she literally said, like, honey, I know who you all are. I know you don't know me, but you do now. And I'm here, and I'm going to protect all of you. Words to that effect. And she had my hand, like, in my mind's eye, her hand was on my hand. She kissed my forehead, and it kind of had I want to say a flower water is what it smelled like to me. I was in lavender, though, so it's kind of hard to say. I'm sitting in lavender, I'm smelling that, but there was a little bit different scent, and then she was gone, and it was just quite beautiful. So I've always respected and looked up to her in my younger childhood, and that was unexpected, very unexpected.
I didn't get to, but no, I do know. I had I watched, I don't know, it's a couple months ago. She was on a couple shows, or somebody was replaying episodes with her. Yeah, of course she wasn't on a couple new shows, duh. But I mean, someone was replaying their episodes that they had interviewed her in the past, and it was a weird connection that night. Like, you know, now being in the foundation and stuff, I watch her a whole lot different than I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, same with your grandpa too. It's the same way. You know, I watch old episodes of God, what's that show that they used to have on TV, on public access TV?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I watch that sometimes.
Seekers of the Supernatural.
Because of the supernatural, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So
But I want to caution people when they watch those things, they're watching a snapshot in time. You know, they're not accurate to where my grandparents ended up on the end of their journey. My grandparents, just like all of us, have adapted to new evidence and changed over time, and you have to. Yeah, otherwise, this becomes a religion and not a field of study.
yeah, I've changed almost all of my opinions since I started. I mean, absolutely all of them, and I think I said that last week too. But yeah, that's.
Oh yeah, things
Yeah,
I
a lot
thought
of
I knew
things-
10 years ago are completely out the window now.
Yep.
I've learned so much that I know I'm ignorant.
Well, it really does. It I found the farther along you go, the more questions I have.
Mhm.
Like I've like, I don't think I'm any closer to any real answers because I have. Yes, I've changed my line of thinking and my way of thinking, but I have 10 times the amount of questions now, you know, and things like that. So it's
And there are many questions you won't get answers to in this lifetime.
Yeah, I don't.
And you know, a lot of what we do cannot be proven. Certainly can't be proven in a court of law. You know, but it's your faith. You know, the faith that you've helped someone, or the faith that you've guided someone to the other side, or you've gotten rid of a negative entity. You know, but you can't. You know, there's nothing tangible there. You can't prove it. But you know it's there. You could feel the difference in the air or the atmosphere, and you know you can smell roses. You know what? And Chris, I don't even know if I told you this, but I smell lilacs a lot, and that was Graham's favorite flower. You know, and she's, you know, and I know she's there with me all the time. You know, and I don't even know if I told you this, Chris. A couple of weeks ago, I was on a call with one of our very gifted members and psychics, and I'm taking classes, and after the call, I wanted to talk to her about a case we were working on, and she said, Lorraine is here and she has a message for you, and she said, first of all, she said, which kind of choked me up a little bit. She said, Lorraine said she's sorry she didn't get to say goodbye to me, and I don't remember how. I was with you for maybe a couple of weeks before she passed. I don't remember. And then she said to me, she said, tell Laurel I love her. And this member didn't even know my wife's name, but she said, tell Laurel I love her. And she said, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. That was the message, you know, and I'm sorry if I failed to tell you that. It was something that stuck with me. It was only a couple weeks ago. And
she's been very active.
I was going to say she's been making her rounds throughout the foundation.
I guess she was trying. I'm still learning. My whole life has been a learning process. You know, even after all the years I've been doing this, I'm still learning. We all are, and no one ever knows everything, nor will we. But I always pray to them and ask them for guidance, and I know they're there, but sometimes I want to see them and I want to talk to them, and I know they hear me, but I don't see them or hear them. And I feel she was using Diet as a conduit to talk to me, you know, and my faith tells me that, and I know it's true in my heart and soul. So just wanted to share that with you guys.
I appreciate that.
We got another.
Mike also showed up a few weeks ago through a medium and warned me I needed to go to the doctor right away, that I did have a condition that was serious but treatable, and that it needed, as long as I went, I would be fine. And now I've always had perfect blood pressure, 120/80, no matter how obese I was. And it shot up to 180/110, and I was in crisis. So that was a really good message, and I was glad to get. But she's been sending tons of messages over the last few weeks, and they're all resonating tremendously. I'm astonished at how active she was. I think she's making up for lost time because, she didn't really do any work for the last 20 years.
Yeah, but they set the tone and set the blocks in place to still have the work continue. So, I mean, it's not like she didn't do anything for the last 20 years.
Well,
we do have
she becomes so weak.
Yeah.
And then she was very sick for the last several years of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she really wasn't doing anything at all.
Yeah.
So I think today she's just so excited to be able to be out here helping. And this is the foundation that she started with me. So I know how important this is to her.
Yep. So we have another. Let's switch gears again because we have another really good question in the chats. It says so. Savannah says so. I was chatting with Patty Negri when she was in town, and we discussed how drug and alcohol abuse draws the attention of negative entities. Do y'all have thoughts on that phenomenon?
Oh, Jeff, you take this one first.
No, it even. So there's a more recent case where this is definitely a factor. And in fact, like any paranormal issues going on cannot be addressed until all that other stuff is taken care of. I mean, if you have a drug problem and you think it's a paranormal problem, you probably do have some paranormal issues. But if you come to us to get rid of your paranormal problems or help you get rid of them, we don't have a chance until you deal with the root cause, which is that drug abuse.
Right.
That's it's just gonna keep coming back. I can come to your house, bless it for 5 seconds, and then as soon as I'm out the door, they're probably following me around waiting for me to leave. Honestly.
We are not
negative forces.
We do not have a magic wand. We are not going to cure this until you put in the effort.
Yeah,
I was going to say negative forces are drawn to what I refer to as victim souls. They're looking for easy targets.
Yep.
Now, I mean, Chris and I and Jeff and you ladies, we're just mortal humans, but we wouldn't necessarily be the first target because we're strong in our faith and we know how to stand up to them. But they're going to be looking at people that are depressed or have substance abuse issues or mental health issues, things like that, because those are easy targets.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel.
Well, it goes back to what Chris said that, like feeds like. So if you're in that depressive state using drugs, alcohol, dabbling in the dark arts, you're a Satan worshiper, things like that, those things will feed off of the energy that comes off of you.
Yeah.
We can come in and we can tell you, all this stuff's going on, and we think you might have something paranormal going on, but unless you make lifestyle changes and elevate yourself, raise your vibration and get clean, be on a path to God or on a path to a higher power, those things are not going to leave. They'll leave when we're there. We can come in and they'll run away and hide, but when we leave, like everybody says, they'll come back.
Yep.
And
probably immediately.
Yeah.
Was that Joe with the dog?
I think it was Joe.
Okay.
He was like, sorry.
Yeah. So Abby has a good point that goes along with this too. It's also good to keep in mind that people with issues attract drug and alcohol problems also. They have pre-existing vulnerability. So that's another very good point.
We had a case like that where some dark magic going on. The man he had gotten into the satanic religion. He started seeing things and experiencing things, and he may have had some abilities, but he started using drugs and alcohol to suppress what was happening around him and what he was experiencing. And then it just exacerbated the paranormal stuff, and then so he started using more. So in that case, it went hand in hand.
Right.
Always look for the underlying vulnerability that makes you vulnerable to the paranormal, and that must be treated. We've made that point several times this evening. It isn't just the paranormal. What is it? A million people use a Ouija board, and they don't all get attacked.
Right.
You need to deal with those underlying vulnerabilities.
Here's another related aspect of this. So I'm sure you guys have all encountered people like this too. There's a lot of people that do drugs like LSD or shrooms or smoke weed and say that advances them spiritually. What do you guys think about that?
It can, but it better be done with an actual trained shaman, and you know what you're doing, and you're on a spiritual path. If you're going to take an ayahuasca journey, for instance, which I actually have, you do it correctly. You don't just open yourself up with drugs. That's stupid. Drugs are not the answer. They're not a shortcut. They can be a tool if you're doing it right. It's been done for thousands and thousands of years by many different belief systems, and it can help, but it will not help if you don't do it correctly.
Yeah. If the underlying person isn't in a stable place, mentally, physically, it's not going to be a good outcome.
It's
and
probably
turn into addiction.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably 1,000 times worse than a Ouija board if you're not. If you do it to have a spiritual experience and you're out there by yourself or with your buddies or whatever, you might as well be playing with a Ouija board because you don't know what you're opening yourself up to, especially if you're asking for it. That seems like it can be very, very dangerous.
The intent is what's really important.
What they need to really understand is that when you're doing those things and you're trying to reach out to grandma or your lost cousin that you never had contact with, your intention should be only to reach out to the highest and purest, best energy. And you need to state that, I believe Ouija boards are not bad. I believe it's the person's intent that is bad.
Yeah.
And they just so happen to be using a Ouija board, but you can also use other things like pendulums. If you don't know how to use a pendulum and you're not setting the right intention, a pendulum can be bad. So it really comes back to that person's intent and whether or not they actually know what they're doing, because a lot of the times they don't.
Right. Right.
EVPs, spirit boxes, all that technology,
seances,
automatic writing, it doesn't matter. It's your intention to contact spirit. And if you're doing it when you're not in a good place, or if you're in a bad place, actually physically, then yes, you can actually attract something pretty awful. So
do you think it makes a difference, things like seances and Ouija boards and pendulums, where you're actually using your energy? For an EVP session, yeah, you're opening yourself up to what's around you, but you're asking a question. You're not using your energy like you would in a seance or a Ouija board, because you're asking it to use your energy to move the planchette. So, I mean, do you guys think that makes a difference?
Especially if you make your own Ouija board or something, and if you're dumb enough to use your own blood, which I've seen people online do, that's incredibly stupid. You are putting so much of yourself into that. You've created your own personal ritual that is really making it dangerous for you. That is unbelievably stupid.
Yeah, that's a roll of the dice.
You're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a couple interesting things that are related to the drug discussion. So, my friend does therapy with ketamine and mushrooms with a licensed therapist. He says it really helps his emotional state. So it does sound like there are some legit programs that experiment with this kind of stuff.
I've heard about these actually. There are places popping up where you can actually go have an experience under a licensed clinical, medical facility, and they monitor and allow you to do that for whatever mental health reasons that you're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
they've used LSD, they've used a number of substances to great effect, but again, done with professionals.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yep. And I saw a video a long time ago. This was when even just medical marijuana was starting to be used. There was a video of a guy who had, oh crap, what is that? What does Michael J. Fox have?
Parkinson's.
Yes, this guy had that, and he couldn't function. Within about 2 minutes of smoking weed, he was sitting there having a normal conversation. And if they faked that video, they did a great job because it was crappy quality. It wasn't, like the person that they used. I mean, that was a legit guy. That was not an actor. So I mean, it was, things like that open. I mean, there's all kinds of experimental stuff like that going on now that's worth looking into for sure.
But do it right, please. Do it through
Yes,
medical
do it right.
Controlled conditions. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Trying to think of something else. Stephanie, did we talk about the one case where it was? Yeah, we talked about that last week, but I think we have new people. If you want to talk about how those people protected themselves up north.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it took a few interviews with these particular clients to kind of figure out what was going on and what they were experiencing. And at first, they felt it was, what did they say? Negative, very negative and
Yes,
dark.
very evil.
Yeah. And what it was, though, it wasn't dark and it wasn't evil. It was unhappy. And it would do things around their house to show how unhappy it was. It just was not happy with who was living there, but they still held on to their earthbound feelings. So it was a spirit who was holding on to all these emotions that they carried over into the spirit realm with them. And, both clients claim they have abilities. So we had to work with them on that front and address what was going on with this unhappy spirit who did not belong there. And so we started with the client, teaching them how to protect themselves psychically, how to protect their home. They had actually tried to do something by laying salt around the perimeter of their home, and then cleansing, but they did it backwards. So, they kind of created a barrier for an energy that couldn't escape when they were cleansing. So we had to kind of erase that and start over. And they went through the whole house. If they've got clutter, we advise them, clean up the clutter, make your space happy and pleasant, open the windows, get some light in, some plants, play some uplifting music, do that and then cleanse. And then when you're done cleansing and you're sure that that energy has vacated your home, then lay down the salt barrier outside. And that seemed to work very well. So when we had success with that step, we moved on to the next one, which was helping the unhappy spirit who just had all these human emotions still with them. And without giving away too much information about the client, they were on a Native American reservation. And, with that comes a lot of trauma from the past. And this gentleman, this angry spirit that was there, held on to the emotions of him having to shed his native identity and conform. And he had to go to, it was a school that, they conditioned them to think like how we are today. He completely had to get rid of anything associated with Native American, with his particular tribe. The client that lives in this home, he is Native American, but his wife is not, and they have children. So a lot of the activity was targeted towards her and the children. Because he, holding on to all these emotions, he looked at her and was like, why does she get to be here? And I had to go through all these things. With the client, we actually were able to help that spirit leave behind those emotions and cross over, because they didn't belong there. They needed to be in the light. So working with this client, we were able to cross that spirit over. And since then, they haven't had any issues. They have mentioned a few things, but again, she's got abilities. So if the husband came home and he started cleansing with sage,
that's a good story.
She got sick to her stomach, like she really wasn't well, and she's like, oh, you were just cleansing with sage, and now I'm feeling unwell, and maybe there's something wrong with me. I think Jeff said that they had just returned from a funeral where her aunt had passed away, and she passed away from a stomach condition.
Yeah.
So she had just come back from the funeral and had these issues with her stomach, and he just so happened to cleanse as his part of his daily ritual. Mm-hmm. And Jeff said, well, wait a second, what were you doing? And, where did you come from? And after Jeff heard that they had just returned from the funeral of the aunt, he was like, well, you may have been picking up some energy from your aunt. She may have been just trying to, let you know she was there. And they were like, oh, that makes so much sense. So,
And that's a great story of where, and this happens a lot with a lot of our clients, where people mistake things as bad because, oh my God, he's cleansing and now my stomach hurts. And it's like, no, it's really, if you stop and think about it, it wasn't a bad thing at all. It's your aunt saying, hey, I'm here with you. But that's, and it is, I mean, when people get scared, they jump to, oh my God, it's got to be bad if he's cleansing and it's attacking my stomach. But when in reality, or another time I've had where people get their hair pulled, they automatically jump to it's something bad. It's like, no, it's just probably just want somebody trying to get your attention.
Hey, pay attention to me.
Yeah. So it's,
well, if she has abilities, I mean, that's very common for clairsentients to feel the pain of the spirits around them.
Yeah.
I actually have a story about that. I'll make it really short, but I was in the New England states up in Boston, and we were kind of doing some fun investigating. And I started it was nighttime, and I was seeing my grandmother, who is one of my spirit guides, and she was sitting in this chair in this hotel room. And I'm like, why is she here? I mean, I knew at that point that she loved this kind of stuff, and she was all about paranormal investigations and that kind of stuff, but didn't really ever know to that degree. And I started having this chest pain and literally almost took myself to the ER in the middle of the night in Boston because I didn't know what was going on. And now I know and realize and have come to figure out my grandmother had a twisting aorta, and she had this pain in her chest her whole life that she would just all of a sudden get these sharp little pains. Mm-hmm. She was just trying to tell me that's how you're going to know it's me. And so since then, it's been a couple of years now. And every time she's around, I get that pain. And I just tell her, okay, Graham, I need you to kind of back off a little bit, but thank you for being here. And it stops on a dime.
Yep.
So it's really cool. But clairsentients, they totally feel injuries, things.
It's hard too when you have abilities. It's hard to define your energy from an outside energy, and they usually associate to something happening to them as opposed to somebody letting them know that they're there.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Let's do this real quick, because we are getting close to the end. I mean, we can go, I guess, as long as we want, but we'll start with Joe with this question. Have you ever learned a new cleansing, I don't want to say trick, but a new cleansing method? Like, did you ever come across a case where you just couldn't crack it, and then you stumbled upon, or somebody guided you to learn a new cleansing method or protection method?
Well, I mean, even recently, my colleagues on the phone, Stephanie, Tammy, have helped me because they're more experienced than I am with the cleansing rituals. I'm very good with protecting myself and others, but in the cleansings, I'm on the phone with these ladies all the time. They're probably sick of hearing from me, but I really and truly appreciate your help and guidance with, like when we're up in New York talking about the saging first and then doing the black salt, because I probably would have done that backwards, to be honest with you. So I actually, learned that new trick. I learned many years ago from Ed and Lorraine that we took some St. Benedict metals and blessed them. And I dug holes at all four corners of the house, buried the metals, just a few inches deep, not too far. Things like that. That's not something I learned recently, but it's something that always stuck with me. Mm-hmm. But if I'm unclear, I'm glad, because we all complement one another, and I take full advantage of our team. I don't care. I don't have silos. I don't care what part of the United States or the world, for that matter, you live in. If you can be of help to me or anyone else in another region, we're all here for one another, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to correct myself. I made a mistake when I said Lorraine. Lorraine's favorite fragrance was lavender, not lavender.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything. I was like,
I wish you did.
I was going to bring it up.
Are you sure?
I was going to ask that because Yeah, 'cause Chris said-
I wanted to correct myself. My my
Okay,
wife was
good.
listening and she
I
texted
thought
me.
I thought maybe you guys were going to get boxing gloves because Chris said
Lavender. Yeah.
yeah, he said
It was
said lavender
lavender.
earlier, and I thought, oh shoot.
And I did know that. I just the L word. I just said lilac. It was
Yep.
lavender, just so everybody knows.
Yep.
So,
Hey, I just want to ask everyone who listens to this at either now or when it's in recording. First off, please do share this video or share our entire channel on YouTube, The Warren Files. Good luck finding it sometimes when you search for The Warren Files. But it helps us to help others. And our services are all free. They're all confidential. And we are here for you. So this is why we do this.
Mhm.
All right. It's to reach the public, to reach those in need, and to help people to overcome their fears, to help empower them. That is our message. Fear is the enemy. Truly, fear is the number one enemy.
Yep.
And what you're dealing with is almost never truly evil.
Yes.
But if it is, we're here.
it's
Yep,
it's
yep.
rare.
Yeah.
It's rare.
Yeah.
Hollywood would have you believe it happens all the time. These TV shows in Hollywood, it's always demonic. It's
Well, I think
yourselves.
was it me and you, Tammy, talking, or was it me and Layla earlier that like it seems like whenever these new shows come out,
That was me.
yeah, we start getting an influx
We do.
of calls for cases and things
We
like
do.
that. And I do need to put out a warning to the whole United States. Stay out of the state of Wisconsin. I don't know what the hell's going on up there, but it's just stay away from there for a while. That I think the whole state's haunted, but that's my PSA for the night.
They take turns.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, for a while there, it was like West Virginia and Virginia.
Yep.
Seemed like
Yep.
everything
And-
coming out of there.
And me and Layla get like we'll have two
Must be
cases
the
come in,
cheese.
and we both get them at the same time. It's weird. It's crazy.
Lately,
So-
it's been upstate New York too.
Well,
For you
in
guys, yeah.
Oklahoma, I mean,
Yeah.
we had like 5 cases all in one
Yeah.
day, and
Yep.
it's
And
been
then we'll go 2
crazy.
weeks with nothing, and then they just wham. It's like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
Yep. Let's go to Chris with that question. What's a scenario or a case that you were on where you learned a brand new protection method that you have never thought of, or it was like, oh wow, and it worked?
Well, I've been blessed with all of my experiences because, well, originally with my grandfather, it was very confrontational. He would go in and it game on, we're going to war. And I've learned you almost never have to do that. My grandmother was more into the mediation, more into helping spirit to pass over, which I think is really, really important. Oh, good God in heaven. Do we have to put that?
That my finger slipped. I heard it today at work. It just clicked.
Where's HR?
Sorry.
Where's
Sorry.
HR? I don't know.
Right here.
I'm
But,
cursed. I can't help it. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, and Daniel writes Warren Files, as in my grandparents, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, not
know
Warren,
them
PA.
from the Conjuring or Annabelle movies, but honestly, those are, yes, the Conjuring movies are loosely based on real cases, but the details and stuff, it's pure.
Loosely.
I heard
Very-
the Annabelle movies are the most accurate though.
Oh my God, please. I can't even say, I won't watch the third one. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just ridiculous.
I got her.
The first
Yeah.
one at least was a good, scary movie.
She's visiting for the weekend.
Yep. So I'm sorry. I
No.
think you were actually talking about something serious, and I wrecked it with my bad trigger finger.
Well, it was when I was in an Umbanda temple in Portugal. And I was there, luckily, I was there for a few weeks, several weeks actually. And I learned how important it amazed me how all of the priests and priestesses were trained mediums. They may not have had mediumship abilities going in, but they were able to learn to channel spirit, and they would channel particular spirits. But I also learned how important it was to set those psychic communities. And they would do it through ritual and through literally roping off one section, the center section of the temple, so that only in there would the spirits be allowed to manifest. I thought that was pretty fantastic, actually. And I went back and I looked at all of the religions that I've studied in the world, and they all do it in one way or another. And that was important to me. That changed my thinking quite a bit.
Containment. I didn't know that, Chris.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, it's just like giving business hours. Letting them know that you're only available from here to here. It's a boundary that you've defined, and that's quite cool, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
They will respect boundaries.
Yep, and they do, and it's interesting you say that, because that would have been my example as well. We've been on several investigations where things start going kind of sideways, and it's like, okay, this is not a bad spirit, but they're very angry, and it's very clear, and they're chasing away everything else that's happening here, because nobody wants to be around that energy. And I've put up a spiritual barrier, just, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, put up a spiritual barrier. You're not allowed to come beyond this point. You stay in your area, and we'll respect you and stay here. And it has worked. And it's amazing. The power, like you said earlier, the power of prayer, doing those things. Even if your faith isn't that faith, you can pray to your guardian angels. You can pray to your higher self, just whatever it is that's going to work for you, but it's your intent and your belief in what you're saying and putting out there.
Yep. And, I've learned, especially in the last several years, just be firm. Several things have happened, but one I thought was cute. Right after my dad died, I was down in New Zealand at the time, and we had just finished a lecture, and I'd come home to my friend's house. The family was letting me stay in their guest room, and it was like, I guess 2:00 in the morning, and I noticed that my door is vibrating. And what's going on? So I walk over to the door, I open it. My friend's in the hallway. And she's looking at me like, Chris, what are you doing in the bedroom? I'm like, no, wait. Let's try this again. I close the door, immediately starts vibrating again. And I just said, all right, enough of this. We are not doing this tonight. You will stop. Immediately stopped. Immediately. I've had similar experiences after going to a haunted sanitarium in Costa Rica, and the TV turned on in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh, not tonight, no more. It'll stop. Yes, I turned off the TV myself, but it did stop.
It's true, because Jeff, if you remember, and Stephanie, when we were working on Brandon's case in Ohio, I think simultaneously we had a visitor, and it wasn't friendly.
No.
And I remember I was sitting in my chair, and I just looked over to my left, and I could feel the energy, and I'm just like, just get the hell out of here. I'm like, if you're going to stay, you're going to do laundry, but like Chris said, I was just very firm. I'm like, get out of my house. You're not welcome here. And, I said, by the power of Jesus Christ, get lost. And it did.
Yeah, I think it was funny. We all felt it at the same time too, but we didn't say anything. And I'm grabbing for like my protection medallion to put it on. It's got a holy verse on there, and I'm like struggling to get it on while we were on the call. And it was. But none of us told each other what was going on. We were just like, whoa.
I remember I just kept looking over, and I'm like, and you guys are wondering what I'm doing. I'm like, there's something here.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it happens a lot when we deal with cases such as that.
Yeah.
Because they're curious about you. I mean, if it's something really demonic, it's going to know about you anyway. I remember Ed used to say, the devil knows who we are, and he hates us. Because we stand up to him. We don't take his crap.
That was,
we want to get rid of him.
That was one of the few times that, I'm not going to lie, I was scared. Like, I don't get scared easy, but like, because I didn't expect it on a phone call, on a Zoom call. freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So
I would like to address one thing. A couple of people have mentioned the Our Father. And if that works for you, fantastic. It is a focus for your faith. But keep in mind, the pastor's coming out now. Jesus said, pray like this. He didn't say, memorize these lines.
Right.
Yeah, he was saying, let me teach you how to pray. And it's about asking God to help you through your day. It's about asking God to help you, to help God's plan come to fruition. Prayer is a dialogue. Prayer is you reaching out to God. Don't get me wrong. I used to use several of the Psalms. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. But if you're not thinking about those words, if your intention isn't in those words, if you don't mean what you're saying, if you're just reciting it, it is meaningless. So that's extraordinarily important.
yeah, it's you're right. That specific prayer was his way of teaching people how to pray, and I think there is something in the Bible too about recitation type prayers, like where you're memorizing a prayer. Like it's not what he's wanting you to do. He's wanting it to come from your heart. He's wanting to have a conversation with you, or for you to ask. It's not like you said, memorizing and reciting prayers. It's not how to pray, really.
Having said that, though, I will also point out that mantras, recitation again and again and again of something, can put you into a good state of mind, a heightened state of awareness, and can help you with meditation and other things. So there's a purpose for that as well. And your personal mantra may be different than mine. It can be the Our Father.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of people who say the rosary over and over and over again. For them, that's a mantra.
Yep. Yeah, we have. So Dana will listen to a lot of those meditations at night when she goes to bed, and if they're still on and I can hear them when I go to sleep, I have the most vivid, screwed up dreams that I like. The first time she had one on and I was sleeping in bed, I was like tripping all night. It was crazy. I said, listen, if you want to do that, that's great, but I can't sleep in here because that it was not.
So binaural beats would not be good for you to listen to all night long then, Jeff. Just remember that.
Okay.
I actually need those to go to bed. Like my brain will not shut down. I have to listen to those binaural beats in 10 minutes and like boom, gone.
Yep. See, I meditate to South Park to go to bed.
Well,
I'm pretty sure South Park meditation is a requirement. So,
if anybody's interested, there is a good website out there, doyogawithme.com, that offers free meditation, free yoga. It's a wonderful resource for people who want it. doyogawithme.com.
That's a good one. I'm gonna write that down.
I'm on it.
Oh God, I just pictured Joe doing yoga.
But I mean, back to like how we were saying, you have to be convicted and believe in what you're saying. I mean, so people that don't necessarily have somebody that they, a God that they look up to, or a religion, so to speak, it can be as simple as Archangel Michael, protect me now. Mm-hmm. Just that,
yep.
So
just like evil has to be invited in, so does good.
Yep. And even, like they say, Christians use this, that the thief on the cross just said, remember me. And, and he was saved immediately. And that's all it took. He didn't go through some big, long prayer that he had memorized, and he hadn't attended church his whole life. And, it was his intent in the moment. He truly had that faith. So, that's always a good Christian story that people tell. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up tonight? It's an hour and 19 minutes. Do you guys have anything you want to plug or shout out or?
Joe, you have a new show.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock Eastern time, 9 Central. I have a podcast. Somebody twisted my arm into doing. It's called Passport to the Paranormal, and it's a serious show. I mean, we're going to talk about tomorrow. I think we're just going to talk about our backgrounds and how we got started and everything, and then in a couple of weeks, I want to bring my daughters on. Because the topic would be like children of paranormal investigators, or paranormal researchers, because they want to follow in Dad's footsteps. But I'm very protective. Papa Bear comes out, and Emily said to me the other day, and she's right. She's like, "Well, Dad, you were 18 when you started. Now they're 24." So I got to give that some thought, because they're right. But. Emily especially, Chris, as you know, is very interested in the work and sincere. And so the show is on Thursday nights at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, and hopefully you guys. Good question.
Go over and show Joe some love.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said we're gonna go over and show Joe some love.
Yeah, God forgive me.
And I'm gonna testify.
What platform it's on, Chris? I'm sorry.
What's the name of the show? Because that's where it's at.
It's called Passport to the Paranormal. Yep. I'll throw up a link.
Yep, and
I'll have you do it.
What is that radio station? Crap.
TLK or something like that. I'm not sure.
TLK. That's
no. Okay.
If we could put a link to the Warren Files channel, that would be helpful as well. Yeah. And I just did I love the name of this one, Hillbilly Horror Stories podcast, which is available on iTunes. I'm thinking it's going to be this Sunday, but I'm not positive when they're going to put it out. But he's had great guests on in the past, like what's his name?
Ryan Buell.
Tommy Chong.
Don't get me started.
And several others. I thought it was a really good talk and worth people checking out. It's just, we talk about my grandparents, we talk about the foundation, we talk about a number of things that were interesting.
I think, as you guys know, and Chris and I'm very big on education. I was given a gift by meeting Ed and Lorraine, and when I was 18 years old, and I just want to pass on my knowledge, and help people, and pass on whatever knowledge I can to future inspiring researchers.
Except your daughter.
Well, that's similar. But with this program, I want it to be, I'm a big dumb animal. I love to joke around, but I want it to be serious about teaching people the right way to do things, or at least the way that I learned. I mean, we all have our different styles and things like that. We're not all cut from the same cloth, but there are certain ways to do things, and you need to show respect, whether we're living or past. You need to respect those spirits, and so I'm looking forward to it. I never really, not that I didn't want to do a show, I just never thought I'd really have the time. But a future show coming up, I'm going to talk about divination. We're going to talk about Ouija boards and stuff. So if anybody listening is interested in that kind of stuff, look for that in a few weeks.
It's Stephanie sent me. It's Passport to the Paranormal, and it's on YouTube. So I'm assuming that's a YouTube channel. Is that what you found, Stephanie? Or that show is just on YouTube?
It's right on Heather's. It's on Heather's Facebook page. Is where I pulled it from.
Okay.
Let's see if I go back to it.
And that while you're looking, the last episode, I can testify, was fantastic. Joe was sandbagged with a special guest.
Yeah, Johnny Zaffos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. She just shocked me with it. And
yep.
I tried to get her to tell me. I said, "It's not somebody who's going to piss me off, is it?" She's like, "I wouldn't do that to you." I said, "Well, thank you." So, yeah, John, I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. But
I'm not so sure he's not. I'm not so sure that he's not connected. If you know what I'm saying. He's got that sound, that mafia sound about him and the way he talks. It's the way I talk, Joe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, there's a handful of us left that remember Ed and Lorraine, and I wish more people got to know them, got to meet them. Yep. and I have a lot of fond memories. And there are times, there are cases you always get stuck on something, and I'm like, I wish I had them to call, and just ask a question, but we have each other, all of us, so that's enough.
Well, I call Lorraine through you two. I mean, seriously, yeah, I mean, Chris, I talked to you this week about specifics on a case that I just like, man, I'm stuck here. I need your advice. And, you and I chatted about that one, and Joe, I talked to quite a bit on cases, and Stephanie, I talked to a lot on cases, and Tammy's done remotes and stuff like that. So, we all use each other, and it's great, because there may be a case where, okay, this isn't really Joe's wheelhouse, so I'm going to go find someone else who that is their, that's their niche, and it's a good resource.
I'm very good at using resources, and ladies, I want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for all your help.
To the foundation,
and Chris too, for your guidance and your friendship. Chris and I have known each other for almost 40 years, and I love you like a brother. I probably love you more than my own brother.
He's not watching, is he?
Huh?
Said he's not watching, is he?
That's right.
Do we need to edit this part out?
He's heard it before. He's probably heard it before, but yeah, thanks so much. That's why I said we all compliment one another. I don't know everything. No one knows everything, but together, we're a formidable force. So.
Yeah. Tammy, do you have anything you want to plug?
Sorry, I just want to say WarrenLegacyFoundation.com. There's a contact us link, and please just fill out the Google form and send it out, and we will be to help you.
Yep.
And now I apologize, Tammy, for stepping on your.
No, you're totally fine. And I was just going to remind, I think there was a question earlier for the support group. So it is the Warren Legacy Psychic Support Group. And that is an open group. Anyone can join, but you do need to answer the questions when you try to join the group. If you don't,
not anybody can join.
Well,
I wasn't allowed in.
Not if you're under, what did we say, 16?
And you also have to be a self-professed psychic.
Right. So anyone that's out there that has questions about psychic abilities, psychic attack, we talk about that a lot, how to get through that, what to do, other ways to ground yourself, going out in nature, putting your feet in the sand and on a beach, putting your feet in the grass, all kinds of different things. We cover that all the time in that group. So
we also have the Spanish language version. I just didn't expect a lot of Spanish speakers to be listening in on this particular broadcast.
Why not? My Espanol is so good.
I just know the bad words.
Yeah.
That's for another show, though.
Joe, it's not that you weren't let into the psychic support group. You were in, but then they kicked you out because you can't ever behave. So let's be honest here. You violated the rules over and over.
I tell you, I get no respect.
Stephanie, do you have anything that you want to plug?
Black sheep.
Any shows you're going to be on? Any investigations you guys are doing, or what's your team up to?
Oh, which one? I've got several going on.
I know, that's why I didn't even go there.
Yeah.
I've got so much going on right now. Foundation-wise, we're always just trying to get out there and promote the foundation and, help our clients, and things like that. If you want to watch past Warren Files, I believe they're all on YouTube as well. Once they're done here, they go over to YouTube. So please head over there and watch all of those because they're all very interesting. And they're just full of lots of information. Whatever you can think of, I think it's over there too. If you need help, hit us up on the website. We have assistance. If you just have a question, you can contact us through Facebook too. If you just want, ask a simple question, you're not looking to get help or join or anything like that, we'll definitely be there to help you out and answer your question as best we can. Yep. But yeah, we appreciate all of you. We're so grateful for all of you guys because we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for people like you. And I just want to say thank you.
Yep. Amen. And I'm gonna make we're gonna shift. So we do have a Patreon page that we're gonna do some shifting around, and we're gonna try and focus more on our YouTube channel. So something that me and some of the other members are working on is we're gonna do a lot more like training on investigating, like how to do it right. A lot of talk of some of the flaws of the equipment that a lot of people use, when and where to use certain things. Like, my opinion is we shouldn't be using cat balls at a residential.
Oh, I knew you were going to go there.
They're my favorite. They're my favorite thing to pick on, because I've said this 100 times too. If a mouse farts 500 feet away, the cat balls will go off. So,
and I don't know why I feel like you're directing that at me, because I love my cat balls.
no, but you're not gonna take them to a client and say, see, we were trying to figure out who's here and the cat balls went off, so you definitely have a ghost in your house. It's
Yeah,
they
they're fun.
have their place. Yes, they
They're
have their
fun,
place.
and when they go off, you're like, ooh, but
Yep.
yeah.
I use
you're
them
right.
at Christmas time around the tree.
We would never use those as a form of
Yep.
of equipment that would give us an environmental reading or absolute evidence that something is there. We wouldn't do that.
In one thing too,
I'm sorry. Number one, Patreon is actually going to go dormant. I did make a video today about that.
okay.
I'm trying to send it to you, Jeff, so it'll get up. For some reason, I'm having trouble with that, as usual. But for those who have supported us, thank you.
Jack.
And we will continue to put out the same content. I've been reading and analyzing The Demonologist on that account. We'll finish up on that little by little. We'll put out a chapter every week or so until it's completed on YouTube on our the Warren Files page with the analysis as well. That's one important thing, and I already forgot the other one.
Well, we're
Jeff,
going to give.
don't forget the decals, Jeff. You got to plug those.
Oh God,
We got a
that's
warehouse
my
full of them.
department.
We
But
got a
no,
warehouse
no,
full of them.
we got it. Yeah, we do have a lot. But another thing too is we're going to. So people, if you guys are still members, don't drop yet, because I've got to get your addresses, because we're going to send you guys a postcard that Lorraine had sent to Chris, or Ed and Lorraine had sent to Chris. So
greeting card or a postcard, and Joe is the one you probably should send those addresses to, because he's the one that actually.
no, send them to me, and then I'll get a lump of cards from Joe to send out to people. Sorry, Joe. I just think it will probably get done a little quicker.
You're right. Yeah, Joe, just send him 10 cards, will you?
Plug those decals.
Yeah, and we do have.
Pay attention, Joe. Send him the cards.
We do have.
Yes.
I love Joe Frankie.
I have them. I
merchandise
got them right
that
over here.
is somewhere. Yeah. No, I always plug your merchandise, and people want to buy it, and then I never send it to them.
Merch.
Because they think they're getting that and money. It's like, no, you have to give me the money.
Yep.
That's how that works.
Python Paranormal Investigations.
Yeah, they
PPI.
think. But no, going back to the YouTube channel too. One thing one topic I want to really open up sometime really soon is, in the paranormal community, why does EMF equal ghosts? All of this equipment is based on EMF, and it lights up when the EMF fluctuates, so therefore there's a ghost around. I really want to find out, is there science to that? Like legit science to it?
And Joe, I mean, Jeff, thank you for bringing that up, because that was the other thing I wanted to quickly mention was, don't download crap on your phone and think you've got an EMF detector or anything. You don't.
Yep.
Please. It's garbage. And
Took it
if a
off.
spirit wants to contact you electronically, energy manipulation is the simplest thing they can possibly do. So they don't need your special equipment. You don't have to spend $2,000 on a spirit box. It isn't.
And my Ghost Hub app doesn't work.
No.
Anyway.
There's no.
What
there's
about
no
my
nice way to say
SLS
that.
app? I got
There's
an
no-
SLS app.
There is no nice way to say it. No, it doesn't work. Your
stick figure.
your
in the
EMF
corner.
meter on there. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
A brick wall will give you a stick figure that's moving.
Point it on your Annabelle and see what happens.
There we go.
Live
Here's
investigations
graphic,
here with Joe.
Look,
Franklin.
can you guys see that?
It'll
Can you see
definitely nap her.
Yes, look at that. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Napping her.
Is she flipping you off?
Yeah.
Of course she
Okay,
is.
guys, listen, seriously, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yep.
It's been absolutely wonderful. And especially with this particular crew, You guys are the best. Thank you.
Man, I missed 21 comments.
Thanks for inviting me, Jeff.
Yep.
Because I'm sure they didn't want me here.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. There was a virtual gun to my head. Like, hey,
Stop it.
I'm Joe Frankie. You're going to put me on.
No.
That's kind of how that conversation went.
No, that's not how it went. Come on, stop lying.
Hey, Joe, we know, man. Yeah.
What?
Let's talk about Joe's actual protection. Absolute.
Stop.
No, we can't talk. This is a family
I'm
show.
afraid what's gonna be said next. I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh,
just-
God. You stop.
I'm just going to end the show. Good night, everybody.
Nicole, save me.
Yeah.